Hello and welcome back once again to After the Credits. So, went to the theater because there was something playing that I wanted to see. Even though it is already out on DVD, it got a theatrical release as well. So I went to see it. And that is, in case you couldn't tell by the title card, as always, Batman the Killing Joke. This is another in the DC animated features that have been coming out. Most of them I own on DVD that I've collected over the years. So obviously I would be interested in seeing this one as well. What did I think of The Killing Joke? Well, I'm actually kind of torn on this one. Part of me likes it, part of me didn't like it. But the part of me that didn't like it only didn't like the first half of it. So for those of you who've never read The Killing Joke, it's basically the story of Batman and the Joker finally coming to a point where one of them has to give and you don't know which one it's going to be. It delves into the Joker's origins, how he was once a normal person and how he turned to his life of crime. Batman reaching the end of his rope with the Joker and coming to a realization that I'm going to end up having to kill this guy. It's going to be the only way to stop him, and I don't want to do that. And it just kind of plays out that whole thing. However, in the movie, they've managed to fit all that into 1 hour of the film, which is a 2-hour film. So what do they fill the rest with? A made-up story of Batgirl. Batgirl does play a small role in the overall story of The Killing Joke in the graphic novel, but she's not a big enough part of it to really require to be involved in this whole first hour act. Basically, it brings Batgirl into the animated universe, which I believe she was before. However, recently with like Batman Bad Blood, where they brought together the whole Bat family, Batgirl's not there until like the very end. She's just kind of starting to come into it. So it's kind of a, is she just coming in at that point, or has she been established, and is the Killing Joke going to continue into that universe? Because they have, each time they've done another story that exists somewhere, they're trying to tie it together into this cinematic or animated cinematic universe as well, to kind of have it all be into one storyline. But at the same time, do representations of graphic novels that have happened just within their own little world. So when I heard they were doing The Killing Joke, I was like, okay, is it going to continue from this story of Bad Blood where she's just coming into it, because that would be a little bit weird, or is it going to have her already be established in the Batman universe and just tell the story of The Killing Joke? Either way it goes. So they decided to do this whole backstory to Batgirl, where she's only been with Batman for 3 years, she said. But at the same time, after being with Batman for 3 years, you would figure she understands the way Batman works. In all the other adaptations, she's always picked up to it real quick. Dick Grayson's always picked up to it real quick. Jason Todd picked up to it fairly quickly. I think Tim Drake was a little bit on the slower side, but he picked up to it fairly quickly, as far as like how Batman works and what he expects of you. So in this variation, you would figure after 3 years, Batgirl would understand more about Batman. And she doesn't. She's still kind of this arrogant little kid who's just in it for the fun adventure of going out at night and beating up criminals. And after 3 years, that would have kind of been out of you. That's like the Robin stage. And then as you get towards the like teenage Robin stage, moving up towards like the Nightwing classification, or the Batgirl classification as it used to be, because she was slightly older than Robin, you would have moved away from that mentality and understood more about Batman like Dick Grayson did. But no, they still have her kind of this wild-eyed kid who's just in it for the fun, and they have this really kind of bad undertone with Batgirl, where she's looking for affection from any man she can for some reason. She's talking to this guy at the library where she works about how she's in love with this guy who she says he's her yoga instructor, but she's like, I kind of have feelings for him, but he doesn't know I exist, type of thing. And then the guy's like, well, why don't you go out with one of these other guys? What about these guys over here? And then she's like, well, if I thought they'd pay attention to me or whatever, or well, I'm kind of wrapped up in this guy, so I don't really want to look at someone else. And then there's this criminal they're chasing down, who happens to mention to her like once that she's kind of hot. So then she kind of gets all, not really romantically involved, but kind of plays cat and mouse with him a little bit, kind of flirtatious with him. And Batman kind of points out to her, if he's flirting with you, he's not scared of you. You're not living up to what you should be in this line of work and have him be frightened of you, not joking around with you, telling you he's in love with you and stuff like that. So Batgirl gets kind of upset about that because, again, for some reason she needs attention and affection from a man who... Batgirl's never been that. Yes, she dates. Yes, she has an interest in guys, but she's never been like so goo gaga girly-eyed over anyone. It keeps leading back into her being so in love with Batman, and Batman kind of secretly being in love with her, but trying to push it away because he's the damn Batman, and and he can't get emotionally attached to anyone because then he's not doing what he needs to do, type of thing. And it's just the entire story, it seems so forced and out of character for everyone. And from what I'm hearing from a lot of people online, that seems to be the consensus, is this entire first act that is not in the actual story of The Killing Joke. If you get the graphic novel, none of this is in there. This is just for the movie. But everyone's kind of like, this is really out of place for these characters. Why is this here? How does it fit into The Killing Joke? And it really doesn't. Except for maybe one way I could see that it does, which I'll get into that as I get towards the second part. So it ultimately comes to them getting so frustrated with each other that they actually start fighting each other, Batman and Batgirl, and to the point where Batgirl actually takes down Batman, whether he's restraining himself from hitting her because he knows that she's upset, or if she actually just took him down is kind of unclear. But then like she ends up where she's in a mounted position, and as she's looking down at him, she just like bends down, kisses him, gets up, looks back on him and says, screw it, and takes off all her gear, sitting there, and it's implied that they had sex right there on the rooftop. Some people are upset about Batman sleeping with Batgirl. Okay, that doesn't bother me so much because for those of you who have ever watched any of the animated series back in like the 90s, it was once mentioned in Batman Beyond that after Batgirl and Nightwing split up, that for a short time, Batgirl did have a relationship with Batman. She said it was only for a short time, and she never really said whether it ended on a good note or a bad note, but seeing how against the Batman lifestyle she was in Batman Beyond, you can assume it ended badly. She even kind of hints at different points that it may have ended badly without directly saying it. But why wouldn't they still be together as a team at that point? So them hooking up doesn't really bother me as much, other than they hooked up in this forced, contrived story that didn't really fit. So then we get into the actual Killing Joke, where after Batgirl and Batman managed to take down this guy who Batgirl's been making goo-goo eyes at this whole time, whose name was Paris France, I think. They made some joke about that. So yeah, his name's Paris Francisco or something like that, but he goes by Perry France, or just Paris France, whatever. I don't know. I don't think he exists. He might. But so after they finish taking him down, Batgirl resigns as Batgirl. She's no longer going to be Batgirl. She's just doing her own thing. That's when she walked away. So again, this could be tying into that relationship that was mentioned in Batman Beyond. This could be what happened to split them up. But Batgirl and Batman had been together for a lot more than 3 years when that split up happened. I can guarantee you that. So they're kind of shoehorning this into the movie in a 3-year period when it would have been a lot more like 10, 15 years of her fighting crime with him, going through her relationship with Dick Grayson, being Batgirl and teaching all the other new Robins and things, seeing Jason Todd die, seeing all this other stuff happen. She was around for a lot of that before this event happened. So that was a lot more than 3 years of Batman's life. So I can see where it might be leading into that story that they developed for Batman Beyond, but they did it way too soon in that character's development. Why would you only be somebody for 3 years and then quit? I mean, it's a 50-year history since 1966 when Batgirl was reintroduced for the Adam West TV series up till now, 2016. That's like 50 years that Batgirl and Batman have been working together, and they're summing all that up with 3 years. It doesn't work that way. So after that whole Paris, France storyline is wrapped up, Batgirl's retired, Batman gets called to investigate this other little crime scene that the police had found. He goes in and it has hints of the Joker all over it. So Batman finally reaches a point where he has to make this decision. And he goes to see the Joker at the prison, and he's like, look, the only way I see this ending between the two of us is either you're going to kill me or I'm going to kill you. And if that day ever comes, I don't want it to ever be said that I didn't at least try to work something out with you, to find some way to rehabilitate you, to find some way to be at peace with you, or make them, bring you back to rehabilitate you in some way. So as they're talking, Joker's just not answering. He's kind of shrouded in the shadows. And Batman grabs him and pulls him in, and he realizes that some of the paint has wiped off. Joker's paint doesn't wipe off. His skin is bleached. So Batman realizes Joker's escaped. So he goes around trying to find out where Joker's at, trying to get information out of people who Joker would normally run with. And while he's out searching, Joker... Now, this is the point where you actually get into the actual graphic novel of The Killing Joke, in case I didn't mention that. This is where The Killing Joke actually starts, halfway through the movie. So, while Batman's out looking for him, Joker goes and visits Barbara Gordon, who is Batgirl, formerly, and the daughter of Police Chief Commissioner Gordon. So, he knows that they're going to be together that night. Barbara Gordon and Commissioner Gordon are having dinner together, whatever. So he shows up at Barbara's house, and as soon as Barbara opens the door thinking it's a friend of hers that's supposed to be coming over, there's the Joker holding a gun, shoots her point blank right above the waistline, and basically paralyzes her. This is the origin story of where she becomes Oracle, where she spends the next several years in a wheelchair, where eventually the birds of prey come from, and so on. So Police Chief Gordon tries to fight him off, but of course there's goons there that take him down and take him away. And the Joker's standing there with his camera, and he makes some comment about unfinished business there or something, so he'll catch up later. And it shows him unbutton Barbara's top button on her shirt. So Batman finds out that Barbara's been shot and paralyzed. He goes to the hospital to see her. She wakes up and says, they took my father. You have to help him. He said he's going to end it. He's going to kill him, whatever. So Batman finally figures out where the Joker's at, and he goes to hunt him down. Leading up to that, Batman is sitting up in the Batcave at the Batcomputer, and he pulls up a file on the Joker, and it shows like all these different things from over the years that the Joker's done. One point I do like about this, I don't remember if it was in the graphic novel or not, is one of the photos actually shows Jason Todd beaten, bloody, dead, possibly whatever. It shows the picture of when Joker killed Robin, which was in Death in the Family, I believe. I'm getting my graphic novels confused. I almost said The Killing Joke, but no, it was, I believe it was Death in the Family. And that was one where people actually got to vote whether or not Jason Todd lived or died, and he died. So it does show that, and any of you who have seen Under the Red Hood or read Under the Red Hood, you know that Jason Todd does eventually come back as the Red Hood, and he questions Batman. I can understand you not wanting to go to his level for everyone else, but when he killed a member of your own family, why would you not end him there? And Batman making the comment that it doesn't matter who it is, it doesn't matter if it's my brother, my son, whatever, if I kill him, he wins. And I would no longer be able to be the Batman. So he explains all that to Jason Todd in Under the Red Hood. So the fact that they threw that in there sees that he's thinking back to that. Whether or not Jason Todd exists at this point in this universe, it never really says. Well, it says that he was a Robin. It doesn't say if he's back as the Red Hood yet or not, or where this takes place in the universe, or if it's a standalone story in the animated movie universe. But it does show him up on the screen, so you think back to that in the Red Hood, him saying, I can never do this no matter what he does. So then it's mentioned at the hospital that she was found, when Barbara was found, she was in a state of undress. Basically, she was naked. And Batman questions, did anything happen? And they never really say whether or not something happened. He just kind of goes, Bullock just kind of says it's kind of a sick thing or something. He makes a comment about it possibly happened. It's possible that the Joker raped Barbara after he shot her. So now that's in the back of Batman's mind too. He's killed Jason Todd. He's paralyzed and possibly raped Barbara, a person who now that first story kind of ties back into because they did have that relationship. Part of Batman loves her to that capacity of a girlfriend more than a sidekick or a daughter or however he looks at her. He somewhere in the back of his mind now he sees her as someone he loved, as a girlfriend or potential wife or whatever. So now that's where that whole backstory could kind of fit into helping twist Batman's psyche to where he's like, I have no choice now. He's made that choice. So he goes and he hunts down the Joker at this abandoned amusement park where he finds Commissioner Gordon. The Joker took pictures of Barbara naked and beaten and everything, and he's got them on display while Gordon's going through this ride, being forced to watch it all. And he thinks that it's going to cause Gordon to break to where Gordon will be like, screw the law, I'm going to kill you myself if Batman doesn't, type of thing. However, when Batman finally shows up and rescues Gordon, he says, I want him taken down. And Batman goes, I'm on it, but then Gordon goes, no, everything's got to be by the book. He goes, I want him to pay, but it has to be by the law. So Batman finally catches up with the Joker and confronts him, and he's like, look, you thought that by pushing someone to a certain limit that no matter who they were, they would eventually break. You didn't break Jim Gordon. He still wants me to take you down according to the law. So, again, Batman poses the question after a fight to the Joker that there's only two ways this can end. You killing me or me killing you. And again, I don't want it to be that I never tried any other option other than fighting you. He goes, let me get you help. Let me try and rehabilitate you. I'll devote the rest of my life away from crime fighting just specifically to help you if you're willing to let me do it. And as the movie's been going on, we have been seeing the Joker's backstory of how he was once a normal person, how he got to where he is. And he goes, so when Batman poses the question, he goes, honestly, I think it's far too late for me. And he has like a real somber, like real person moment where he's actually kind of sane for a moment. And he tells him a joke about these two criminals who they're running across the rooftop. One of them jumps from one rooftop to the other, and he makes it, and the other one says, I can't make that jump. And he goes, well, here, why don't I have a flashlight, I'll shine the beam across the gap, and you can walk across the beam. Kind of like a joke, how you can walk across a beam of light, as opposed to like a scaffolding beam. So the guy says back to the other guy, what do you think I am, stupid? I'll get halfway across and you'll just turn the light off. So somewhere in that, Batman realizes that the Joker is telling him that even if I wanted your help, even if I agreed to let you help me, it wouldn't work. I'm too far gone. At some point, no matter how much you try and help me, at some point I would resort back to who I am, and this will never end. So at that point is when Batman's psyche kind of snaps, and he actually starts laughing, which is the one thing the Joker's always ever wanted, was to make Batman laugh, because he always says that Batman, no matter what he does to him, he never sees the punchline. He can never get Batman to laugh, and that's the one thing he's always wanted. So at this point, Batman kind of snaps and starts laughing. And the movie ends the same way the comic ends, with Batman reaching up and putting his hand on the Joker's neck, and kind of like, if he put his hand here and here, kind of like he's just kind of bracing himself on his shoulders, and they're both kind of laughing together. And then the Joker stops laughing, Batman continues laughing, then it's silent, and then it fades out. And in the last couple panels of the actual graphic novel, it plays out the same way. It shows laughter across it, and like the last two panels, the last three panels, the laughter is kind of fading out in the third one. And then the last two are just of the ground, because we pan down away from Batman so we can actually see what happened. It pans down to the ground, the laughter is kind of dying out. The last two panels are just of the ground with no indication of speech bubbles, no indication of laughing, nothing, and then that's the end. And a lot of people just kind of figured that was where it ended. Batman took them in. And a while back, director Kevin Smith started his podcast, Batman on Batman, where he talks about everything Batman. And he actually had Grant Morrison, I believe is his name, the person who wrote the story of The Killing Joke. And he had him on the show talking about things. And he goes, well, I don't think anyone ever realized what actually happened in those last two panels. And Kevin says, well, what do you mean? And he goes, Batman killed the Joker. And even Kevin Smith, who had read the comic 100 times, was thrown back. He's like, what, really? He goes, yeah, didn't you ever notice how first it's full of laughter, then the laughter starts to die out, and then the last two panels are just blank? He said when Batman reached up to grab the Joker, he actually snapped his neck. And that's why the Joker stopped laughing. That was the killing joke. However, years later, DC retconned everything and made the Killing Joke part of their actual main universe instead of an Elseworld tale, like a multiverse tale like it used to be, to where the Joker could have died. But now that it's main universe and the Joker's still alive, well, how do you retcon out that? So it goes back to, well, he didn't actually kill him, he just kind of knocked him out and took him in or whatever. Did it by the book as Gordon recommended. So that's the way the movie ends, and that's the way the Killing Joke ends. And if you haven't read the graphic novel, I definitely recommend reading the graphic novel. If you want to watch this movie adaptation, it is mostly a shot-for-shot live, well, not live, but fully animated, like as if you took the comic book, opened it up, and all the characters started moving around the frames. That's how this movie plays out, except the entire story is wrapped up in the second half of the film. It's a 1 hour movie. They tried to stretch it out to 2 hours to make it a feature length, and we got that tripe with Batgirl being a doughy-eyed little girl. And that's the main thing that is being torn apart for on the internet by people is, a lot of people are having issues with the love scene, but like I said, I don't mind the love scene. It's established that eventually they hook up. But the way Batgirl was portrayed leading up to that point is not the Batgirl we've all come to know and love. That's not who Batgirl is. That's not how her character's ever been. She's always been a very strong, feminine role model and not a, like I said, doughy-eyed little girl like that. So to portray her like that kind of is a slap in the face of the last 50 years of the history, and that's what most of the comic book fans were upset about. A few were kind of upset about, oh, they would never hook up, whatever, they've hooked up. I think it might actually be in some of the comics that they were together. So yeah, the whole first half could kind of take or leave. That can just be thrown out. After that story, if you get into the point where it starts involving the Joker finally, that is the Killing Joke, and that is the way the comic plays out, that's the way the movie plays out, and that is the better part of the movie. Like I said, that first part with Batgirl only leads into the fact that she was potentially raped can possibly be on top of what happened with Jason, even though he's already told Jason Todd, I couldn't kill him just for you. But now, not only has he killed one member of my family, now he's brutally attacked, paralyzed, and raped another member of my family. That's my breaking point. And that's the only reason I can see that they put that in, was to show those wheels spinning in Batman's psyche, where he's finally like, I have no choice but to kill him. I can't let it go on any further. And that's actually kind of, if you watch The Dark Knight Returns or read that book, that's kind of what happens with the Joker there. They're now 60, 70 years old, and Batman's just like, you know what, I've had it. I'm done dealing with you, Joker. You're going to die. And I mean, it's to the point where in The Dark Knight Returns, he throws damn Batarang into the Joker's eye, and the Joker's kind of like thrown back by it. He's like, are you freaking crazy? And it's just that at that point, Batman has reached such a breaking point at 60, 70 years old that he knows the Joker has to die and he doesn't care anymore. And that goes strongly against who Batman has always been, but at that age, what can you expect from him? Here, it's bringing that in a little bit earlier, when he's still like in his late 30s, early 40s, because of things that have happened. So yeah, what would I give it as far as a star rating? If it had only been the Killing Joke and not the other tripe, I probably would have gave it a solid 4, maybe 4.5, actually, because you had to deal with that other part first. Even like as I'm watching that, I'm like, this wasn't in the Killing Joke. What is this? When are we going to get to the interaction with the Joker? You know, if you're going to have more of the story, emphasize more on the Joker's past, or the 3, Batman, Batgirl, and the Joker. You know, emphasis on all that, not on this crap with Batgirl. Yes, Batgirl can be in the story. She's a great character. It doesn't need to be her wanting to get laid, is essentially what it boiled down to. You know, she's like the horny college girl who just wants to have sex one night. And I can see why people are upset about it. So, based on that, on a star rating, God, I really hate to do this. I want to say a 3, just because of the entire first half of the movie. But I don't want to go quite that low, because the second half was actually decent. I want to say a 3.5, but I'm really torn on it. The first half of the movie, I would give like a 2. The second half of the movie, I would give a 4. So I guess I'm going to have to average to a 3, even though I would like to go slightly higher, because it's not just a middle-of-the-road movie. It is actually a decent movie. I just can't fight that first half, so it's a 3. Sorry. I understand why you guys put that in there. I understand what you were trying to establish with it. It just didn't fit who we fans have come to understand as Batgirl. And it didn't really need to be there for the Killing Joke to work and make sense. So that is it for this episode. Sorry it was such a long one. There's just a lot to go over there. For those of you who have watched it this far, thank you for staying tuned. Again, as always, thank you everyone for watching. Not just the ones who stayed watching until this point, but anyone who's ever watched any of my videos. Thank you all for watching. Remember to like, comment, rate, subscribe, share the video. Links are down there in the description and up there in the corner. And until next time, we'll see you after the credits.